What is going on, everyone, and happy Halloween. Yes, we are in costume here for this Halloween episode, our Halloween review of Silent Hill Origins. Unfortunately, you're not going to get the whole full get up of what we got going on here, and if you can't tell, we're going for Dr. Eggman, Dr. Robotnik here, but on Halloween, the day this is coming out, when we're going out with my kids, and my beard's gonna be, I have the gel, it's gonna be all poked out, it's gonna look crazy. Unfortunately, you guys aren't gonna be able to see that part of the costume because it's a pain in the butt to get out, and I'm not putting it in for this video, so I apologize. Goggles like fog up quick, so we're gonna paste them on our forehead, kind of like they do in the Sonic movies and stuff anyways. But like I said, we're going to be covering Silent Hill Origins today, and I played the version that is on the PSP here that you can see. And if you can't tell, look at that price tag right there. And by the way, I have the receipt inside. So here's a receipt right here. We can see 2014 is when we got it, and it indeed was $8.99. $8.99, guys. I know that's 10 years ago now. And this game has pretty much 10 times its price, if not more. So that's insane, just how some games, especially horror games, do that. But I do have the PSP version here. This is the version that I played, and I actually played it on my PlayStation Vita. So let's get into talking about it, because I don't have a big history with Silent Hill. If you guys have been following my channel for a while, you know that I love Resident Evil, and I do really enjoy survival horror games, even though like I hate horror films. Like, I can't get into them at all. And I love to watch the channel Dead Meat. I like watching them cover it. So I don't know. I'm a weird guy when it comes to that stuff. But Silent Hill, my only experiences with it were initially I did try to play the original PS1 entry. I downloaded that digitally on my PlayStation 3 near the launch of the PS3 when it started letting you get all that stuff, and I just could not get into it. I was getting annoyed that I could only see like 2 feet in front of my character, and I just was not having a good time with the game. So I was like, you know what, I'll stick with my Resident Evil. But over the years, I'm like, so many Silent Hill games get so much praise, I need to give it a try. And my very first dive into Silent Hill was last year, where I actually finished the game, and that was Silent Hill Shattered Memories. I actually have video footage captured. I was going to do a review on it. By the time I was done with it, Halloween was over, and I was like, well, I'll just put this off to another day. And I should have just released a video on that this year, but maybe later on in the future I can have that released. But I played Silent Hill Shattered Memories first on the Wii, and I don't think that was like a true experience from what people say for Silent Hill, because there's no combat in that game. So I was like, you know what? We got to try a Silent Hill game. And everyone's playing Silent Hill 2 right now, the remake. I could go back and play the original, but I was like, you know what? Let's do something different. Let's go with Silent Hill Origins. So with that long intro out the way, now let's talk about the game. So in Silent Hill Origins, we are playing as the main character, Travis. He is a truck driver, and he's deciding to go down this road that I guess is a shortcut that's on his route for his delivery he has to make, and it's through Silent Hill. And on the way through this shortcut, he sees this girl figure standing in the road, which makes him kind of veer off with his truck, and he continues to pursue this girl to see if she's okay, like see if something's going wrong, why she's standing out in the middle of the road. And while doing that, it leads him to a house that is on fire. He goes in there to try to rescue, to see if anyone's inside there. He sees this body covered in ash he's trying to carry outside to safety. Then all of a sudden, boom, stuff happens, scenes trigger, and we're kind of in that Silent Hill atmosphere. We're exploring Silent Hill, and I won't really, I mean, stuff like this, you should be able to talk about spoilers and how everything goes. A lot of the things I see from multiple clips from what I've heard and what I've seen talked about other games has to deal with like infidelity. There's always like infidelity going on in all these games. Like someone's cheating on somewhere at one point. So it's just kind of insane. And there's things like that here too. But it's a story that Travis like kind of uncovers some stuff from his past. With his father and his mother and stuff like that. So it was a really interesting story that did kind of kept me engaged. Kind of know how it's going to end up by the time you get to the end, but you still want to see it play out. And apparently, like, these games can have multiple endings. I know Shattered Memories had numerous multiple endings. This game has multiple endings. I think I got like the standard, like, best good ending you can get. That's like the true to canon ending. But I don't really know what triggers like how I got it. so I couldn't tell you, but I know that there are multiple endings because I did look them up afterwards just to try to see them all. And there's some crazy, wacky UFO ending that's pretty insane. But moving on, like the next thing is like the gameplay. And first and foremost, we got to talk about the atmosphere though, because we talked about story, but Silent Hill games are all about the atmosphere it creates being in Silent Hill. And for the music in this game just really does set the tone for it. Anyone who's played Silent Hill games, I guess you know. I don't know if the tones like that are familiar throughout all of them, but just this ominous kind of little tone in the background, letting you know, like, you're not in Kansas anymore. Like you're in Silent Hill, and it just does set the mood and the atmosphere with the slight fog when you're going through Silent Hill. The enemies help set that mood too, but we'll talk about more with them in the gameplay section. But now onto the gameplay, and this is where I was actually impressed in some parts, kind of like why people find this fun in some areas, but let's just get into it. The PSP, wow, this game looks awesome. For a PSP game, I think it visually looked incredible. I know the God of War games, Chains of Olympus, Ghost of Sparta look really good on the PSP, but Silent Hill Origins looks really good, and I'm really curious what the PS2 counterpart would look like now. Like, are there improvements on it? The resolutions and stuff like that for sure have to be, but this game looked great on that Vita screen, and I'm sure it would look just as good on the PSP screen. Some of the issues that I had with it, though, gameplay-wise, even though environments and stuff really look great, was the actual movement. And not to say that the movement's bad. The way the camera kind of works in this game is I could be walking through a room, and all of a sudden the camera's going to change in a room. And instead of the stick kind of flowing with the direction I was walking, when the camera changes, the stick kind of rotates with how that camera was. So in some cases, I could be running one way, and I'm holding it down, the camera changes, boom, it's got me running back the other way, and the camera transitions again. Then boom, I'm trying to go. It's just this constant, like, okay, which way do I got to hold this stick to move? It started to get annoying at certain parts, especially if you're trying to dodge enemies and stuff like that, and you're fighting this thumbstick where you're thinking you're running away from them, and all of a sudden it's got you turned around and you're running right back into their arms. It can get kind of annoying. But that was really the only gripe I had, because the main gameplay loop is pretty much like a Resident Evil game. You have an area that you have to go explore. You basically start in the city, and you first go to one section of the city. It starts off at the hospital. You kind of fully explore that, and you move into the city again and move on to a next area. And it's kind of built up into like 5 or 6 areas that you explore, including the city. And it just flowed so well, because there is going to be backtracking in these buildings. You're going in a hospital, you're going to walk into some locked doors, maybe you got to find a key card or some other way to get inside the door, and it just flowed so smooth. Because even though there is backtracking, I feel like you're following up a hallway, you see a locked door with a set of steps that also has a locked door, but if you keep going on this adventure, you're going to find the key that loops you back around to that staircase that was locked that you now can unlock, and it puts you by the room that you needed to use the key for. It did a great job of keeping it flowing, and even though there was some backtracking in it, it made it really simple to backtrack to these areas. And I don't know if they did that just for the convenience of it being on a portable system and they were just trying to help people out with something like that, but it flowed so great. One of the main mechanics, and people can help me out here because I don't know what's happening with this transition, but within Silent Hill, there's these mirrors that you go in. Of course, you might be wandering through the hospital, for example, and you run into a dead end. And you're like, well, what do I do from here? And there's a mirror or window you can interact with, which takes you like to a darker realm. I forgot what this realm is, what we're actually in, what's like real and fake, because you can die in both, but you're transitioning to this other world it totally changes the look of everything in the hospital. In one section of the hospital could be nice clean walls with just some screwed up furniture. You hit the mirror, go into the other world, I'll call it the dark world, and there's like blood everywhere, like meaty textures all over the walls. I guess it's almost like a hell version of the hospital. So that caught me off guard, because I thought, like, just in Silent Hill games, it's like, oh, when the fog's there, that's when bad things happen. But no, in this game, bad things are still happening with just a fog there. Then you go into this other world and there could be bad things happening. Which leads us to the enemies and the combat system, which this is where I was shocked, because I thought it was going to be this type of game where I'm going in and I'm fighting off these nurses and other different types of enemies in Silent Hill, which there wasn't too many of a variety. I want to say there's only like 4 different types of enemies in the game. So I'm like, man, we're going to get a gun. We're going to get these melee weapons, because I've been seeing people play Silent Hill 2 Remake and they're beating people down with their melee weapons. I could literally go through this whole game and not attack one enemy unless it was a boss fight. It was so easy to not even have to get involved in combat, which was cool on one part, but in another part, I kind of just want to kill some bad guys. But it was just so much easier just to walk by them, because apparently they don't trigger unless you cause, I guess, a lot of noise, or they have a light coming from you, because you do have a lighter that can kind of light up dark areas, and if you keep, or a flashlight, and if you keep that flashlight on, it's going to attract the monster's attention. But if you keep it off, they could care less. And I could see perfectly fine in the game. I never needed the flashlight, so I would just walk around, walk right past the enemies like, hey, have a good day, how you doing? And never have to fight anything. There was only a handful of cases where I ever had to, which means when there was a boss fight that I assume is mandatory combat, I don't know if you can get through it any other way, I could have all my bullets and ammo just to unload on the boss, which made it pretty easy fighting. So I was surprised in that part, because I thought it was like a combat focused game, but no, you could just avoid everything, and that's pretty much what I did. So yeah, I'd go around, explore these areas, these different areas of towns, avoiding the enemies, and each area does lead to a boss fight at the end of it, all culminating into a final boss fight at the end, I guess, depending on what ending you get. But yeah, it was solid gameplay, though. It was still kind of, the only thing, like I said, is that messing with that janky camera when the scenes would change, or it would change on me. It was just, that was the only annoying part. But going around, learning about the lore of this town and the story of what was going on with Travis, I enjoyed it. So for my second and kind of first real Silent Hill experience, it does have me wanting to play more. For future entries, like, it would be nice to see a little bit more combat, but maybe that's something that affects the ending. I don't know. If you go killing everything, maybe that gets you a bad ending. So maybe it's good that I didn't go killing anything. And from what I saw of the Silent Hill 2 remake, it doesn't look as easy to avoid them in there. Maybe I was just watching the wrong people, because it looked like they were having to fight everything. So I don't know how the mechanics change in other ones, but I really enjoyed this Silent Hill Origins. So I still would take Resident Evil, that's more my pace and style, over top of Silent Hill right now. But who knows, maybe diving more into it, playing Silent Hill 2, 3, and the remake, maybe that could change my mind. It'd be tough to top Resident Evil for me, since it's so deep in nostalgia, like, just stuck in my heart. It'll probably always be my top survival horror type of game. But it was cool to kind of play both a Resident Evil and a Silent Hill game this October. So with Code Veronica and Origins here, I'd put Code Veronica above this. Just had a lot more that I desire in a game, but do not slouch on Silent Hill Origins, especially like even the PSP entry, if this is the only one you could get, which I don't know which one is more expensive, but it's the one I played and it played great. So if you played it, what was your experience with it? Let me know what I missed, what I got wrong. But yeah, I thought it was a good time. So I hope everyone has a happy Halloween. Enjoy yourselves this evening, tonight, if you're celebrating it in your area. Just all your kids, be safe out there. I know it can be kind of dangerous out there, so everyone, take care of your kiddos if you're going out there with them. I still haven't decided if I'm going to go with them or stay home. I normally stay home and hand out candy to the neighborhood kids, because they love seeing what I dress up as every year, what the new thing I'm going to be. Last year, I was Cousin Eddie from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Only the adults really got what that costume was, but I think the kids are going to kind of pick up on what we're rocking with this year. So everyone have a happy Halloween. I'll see you guys in the next one.